Nevada dry lake bed just outside of Las Vegas, where we're going to do some test drives on our new 3-link kit.
So this time, let's go! Are we ever gonna get this video finished?
Welcome back to Doris.
And Daddy Off-Road.
Today we're going to talk about the installation of the CavFab 3-link kit.
And at the end of the video, we're gonna tell you our overall impression and how it drives.
We ordered our kit online directly from CavFab. It shipped pretty quickly. Most of it came from CavFab, but the Johnny joints came in 2 separate packages on 2 separate days, direct shipped from Curry.
We ordered our kit in raw metal, so the first thing we had to do was prime it and paint it.
I thought flat black was a good color. Somebody else had different ideas. You're not painting it pink, are you?
What?
Before we talk about the actual installation, I just want to mention that the kit didn't come with instructions. I was able to find some instructions online on the Cherokee forum, and I will include a link to those in the description below. Park your Jeep on level ground and jack up the front end. For this, you'll need a jack
And some chocks.
and some tire chocks. Next, you want to set jack stands just behind the factory lower control arm mounts. Now remove the front wheels and lower the front axle and let it hang on the front shocks. The vehicle is now supported by the jack stands behind the lower control arm mounts.
Is this where we start breaking things?
Yes.
Good.
The instructions have you pulling the control arms before swapping the transmission crossmember. That's not the order that I did it, but for the purpose of this video, we'll stick with the instructions. First step, remove the upper and lower control arms. For this step, you're going to need a 21mm wrench and socket, and a 15mm socket. The lower control arms came off for us with no problem because they had been replaced a few years ago when we installed the original lift. However, I ended up cutting 2 of the 4 upper control arm bolts because I was unable to get them free. The next step is to cut the lower control arm brackets off the unibody. For this, we used a plasma cutter. But a reciprocating saw or grinder would have done just fine. Remove the factory rubber bushing from the driver's side of the axle.
Easier said than done.
A ball joint press might help with this process, but in the end, I just ended up using a hammer and chisel. Now with an 8mm wrench, you'll remove the front drive shaft.
The next step says we need a ball joint press.
We got a ball joint press on loan from AutoZone. The ball joint press was used to press the Johnny joint into the upper control arm mount on the axle.
Use jack stands to support the transmission. We can now remove the transmission crossmember.
You're going to need to drill and tap the front holes for the new crossmember. For this, you'll need a 1/2 inch 13 tap and corresponding drill. You can now install just the center 10mm bolt
Only the center.
with a 17mm socket. After the middle bolt is tight, you can lower the transmission onto the crossmember. Mine took a little shimmying to get it to line up. Next, it's time for the Unibody tie-in plates. Be careful when you drill the holes. You've got brake lines and fuel lines on the inside of the unibody on the driver's side. Also be careful that you drill the hole straight. Mine ended up a little crooked and it was difficult to get the nuts on the inside.
For this, you're gonna need a 17 30-seconds and a 25 30 seconds.
Drill bit.
Drill bits.
Drill bits. 25 30 seconds and 17 30 seconds are sort of odd sizes, so I ended up having to buy the drill bits for this.
They were not cheap.
The 17 30 seconds hole gets drilled all the way through the unibody. The 25 30 seconds hole drills from the outside but stops before you go through the inside of the unibody.
Do not drill all the way through.
The instructions mention a flag nut. My kit came with 4 lock nuts, no flag nuts. After you've got the holes drilled and the crush sleeves in place, you can install the rest of the bolts holding the transmission crossmember in place. Once all the bolts are tight on the transmission crossmember, it's now time to install the upper control arm. For this, you're going to need a 13/16 socket, a 7/8 wrench, and a 3/4 inch socket, and a 3/4 inch wrench.
Well,
Well, you need both. You need 2 sockets or 2 wrenches, or 1 socket and 1 wrench. Your choice, really.
or a wrench and a socket.
A wrench and a socket and a wrench, 2 wrenches, or 2 sockets.
Or you could just use the wrench on one side and the socket on the other.
That was my original plan. Next, the lower control arms. Again, you'll need the 13/16 socket and the 7/8 wrench. Now it's time to reinstall the front drive shaft. Again, you're going to need the 8mm wrench. Last step, make sure everything's tight. Before you go out driving, make sure everything is tight.
Can we finally talk about this ginormous wrench?
Right. So one more tool that I bought, mostly because I like tools, is this 1 7/8 crowfoot wrench. And it was used to tighten the jam nuts on the control arms. The main reason for this video is through all of my research, I could never find a good video showing the Johnny joint for the upper control arm at the transmission crossmember. So, without any further ado, here's that video. The Alpha 3-link kit has plenty of articulation. The travel on our Jeep is currently limited by the short shocks that we have in the front. So the trail that we were on when this video was shot was a series of whoops, like something from a motocross track. They were maybe 18 to 24 inches tall and maybe 4 to 6 feet apart. For our initial settings, we set the Johnny joints on the lower control arms screwed almost all the way in. And the upper one has about maybe a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of thread showing. After we had the whole kit together, we took it to be aligned at a local alignment shop. Everything was pretty darn close, but the caster was at 10 degrees.
Drive shaft vibrations.
With 10 degrees of caster, the thing drives amazingly. However, at highway speeds, we're getting entirely too much drive shaft vibration, so we're starting to make changes to correct that. So far, we've had the new kit on 2 trips. One out to the
Drive like that!
and one to Wheeler Pass,
In the snow!
and the kit has performed flawlessly. No issues so far. So Doris, how was the drive?
Well...
All kidding aside, it's a great kit. The on-road manners are vastly improved, and the off-road...
We're not professionals. Your Jeep might be different.
Use your best judgment before making any of these modifications.
Thanks for watching!